the fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
I got that man everything. I spoke to him many times. He couldn't have been nicer. And then he throws a big Black Lives Matter sign right down in the middle of Fifth Avenue, and all merchants along Fifth Avenue are furious. They're furious, and the whole city is furious. The city is a city that's enraged. And
well,
but everything
but
I
nobody's
did,
safe.
it was almost a test, Joan. But I was so good to him and to Governor Cuomo like nobody's ever been good. And all you end up doing out of that place is get prosecuted and have a lot of trouble. So New York is not the place that it was. Everyone's leaving. They're moving to Florida. They're moving to other places. It's very sad, actually, to see what happened.
To be honest, I'm the only idiot that stays here. I need to get my contract changed so I can get the hell out of here myself, to be honest.
Holy crap. So last night he gave an interview to his number two, which works on every level that we've ascribed the number two meaning for, right? So he was talking to the turd, and he was telling him how Bill de Blasio and the New York prosecutors, Cy Vance and the Supreme Court ruling yesterday, New York is just a hellhole. It's a hellhole. And they put a Black Lives Matter painted yellow paint on the sidewalk on the luxurious Fifth Avenue, and New Yorkers are livid. They are furious. Meanwhile, my friends in New York, I'm a New Yorker, I'm not furious. No one I know is furious. No one I know is upset about it. Most people are like, it's about time that we actually said something out loud instead of the Karens being the only people who say things that they're thinking out loud. And it's because of this president. I honestly, when I was growing up, I heard my mother's Karens, okay? My mother had friends. They were Karens, all of them. And they would say stuff, and everybody would hear them say stuff. Don't sell to black people. The schools are getting desegregated, and now my children have to go to school with those children, and they're stupid. And we know that because they fall asleep in class. And my mother would say, maybe they're tired. They have to be bussed from one end of Brooklyn to the other. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, the lights came on, and the lights made the cockroaches go running back into their walls, where they belong. And now Donald Trump comes along and he turns the lights off, and the cockroaches are taking over and saying these things out loud once again. The Karens and the Kevins are out of control. I don't know if you saw this, but there was a couple that painted over a Black Lives Matter sign in Contra Costa, California. They felt so strongly about it, they brought their own black paint. Did you see this?
No, I'm curious. What are you doing?
That's a great outfit. Oh my God.
What is wrong with you?
What is wrong with you? There she is, painting over the yellow.
I'm sick of this narrative, that's what's wrong.
The narrative
Look how determined she is.
The narrative of police brutality, the narrative of oppression, the narrative of racism. It's a lie.
It's a lie.
It's a lie.
This is racist. What you're doing.
This is racism is what it is. That's what it is. There is no oppression. There is no racism. It's a leftist lie. It's a lie from the media, the liberal left.
You can't be that stupid, can you?
No, but you can be.
They felt so strongly that Black Lives Matter was offensive. Let's just say this right up front. You cannot say all lives matter until you make it so Black Lives Matter. That is just... And they're everywhere now. They're everywhere. Okay, here's a Karen in a Home Depot just saying it out loud. I'm a white woman and I'm entitled.
Meanwhile, you just threatened to f***ing cough on me during a global pandemic. Are you for real? Is that funny? You're funny. It's super funny.
Oh.
I Swear to God, if you touch me again, I will knock you out. I will knock you out. I will knock you out.
You think you will?
You're disrespectful to everyone else in this store. The entitlement is disgusting.
Yes, I am entitled. I'm white. I'm a woman.
You're white and you're a woman?
Yes, I'm entitled.
Oh, you're a white woman. Oh my God. Welcome to privilege.
Yep, exactly.
What does you being white have to do with you being able to get your way?
Because I'm a white woman. That's what happens.
That's what happens.
You're a disgusting, racist piece of trash, literally.
I believe in white power.
Ah!
White power?
Yep.
You believe in white power.
Oh my. She believes in white power is what she believes in, and smashing people over the head with her iPad is what she does. And this is what he has allowed by sitting on a propaganda news channel, saying out loud in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of all this, trying to get people to wear masks, trying to get people to cover up, trying to get people to socially distance, trying to get people to respect each other. The President of the United States goes on the Hannity last night, the Slumlord Show, and just unloads on him that New York and the Black Lives Matter thing, this is bad and you have to rebel against it, and it's just, and they're taking down statues, and it's all about Confederacy and the statues and our heritage, translation, white myth. The white supremacist legend of America has to be told over and over again. And I won't let, and I am telling you, this is so freaking out of control. Here's another White Lives Matter, Karen.
Matter. White Lives Matter, you black, twisted, crazy person.
There you go.
Let her,
he loves her.
Let her say whatever she wants to say. What are you going to do? Say whatever. What are you going to do? Say whatever you want to say. Run and cry. No, say whatever you want to say.
I didn't say a word. I'm just standing here. How's it going?
You need to move your White Lives Matter. You're just a poor little black girl who's got a messed up mind.
That's it.
White Lives Matter. White Lives Matter. It's not true. I know it's not true. I know my words. I know my words. White Lives Matter.
Look at that accomplished right there. You know, there's probably more people on the road that understand of what you're trying to do, but you're not going to settle it like this. You're not going to settle it by shooting police officers, spitting cameras, blah, 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 on and on and on and on.
Say it again. You love what? No, she lied. She lied. He wasn't doing nothing. You're
Oh my.
You're a liar. Stop. You're a liar. You're a liar. White Lives Matter, sister. White Lives Matter. White Lives are better. White Lives Matter.
Oh my God. I mean, if you find yourself doing that, please get help. Just call Charter Hospital or one of its affiliates and just turn your butt in. Something is so wrong with you if you think that you really need to be outside screaming, white lives matter, white lives are better. I mean, there's something so wrong with you. Something has gone horribly, horribly wrong in your head. But like I said, just say that you cannot say all lives matter until Black Lives Matter. They released the transcript of George Floyd's unholy and uniquely cruel and torturous death. And George Floyd asked them 20 times. He said, I can't breathe, 20 times. The last words George Floyd apparently said was, please, 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 please. And they want to trick themselves. They want to, turn themselves into, Twister players or pretzels. Ignoring that. I just, it's so. But look, this is what we're stuck with until January. And he thinks it's happening to him.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
This privileged, entitled Karen wants her teeth cleaned.
You're going to work on my teeth, not my nose. I don't wear a mask getting my teeth cleaned.
But it's about the safety of all of our...
Fine, I'll cover my mouth. Can I go be seated now?
No, because you're not filling out the forms or letting us take your temperature. It's about protecting our...
You can't take my temperature. That's against the law.
All right, well, I can't...
You're not an MD.
We're not allowed to... We can't see you.
I have a right to sue you for harassing me, the manager, and this entire company, Smile, whatever you call it, Dental. I do have that right, and I talked to my attorney before I came here, too. Okay. So does he want that to happen? I've waited long enough for my teeth to be cleaned, okay? Let's get this done, okay?
I can't. They're telling me I can't see you.
Who's there?
The owner of the practice.
I want to hear him. Get him on the phone. He has to send me in written writing, so I want to see your policy.
You shouldn't be in the building without a mask either.
I can do what I want.
No,
I'm
you
free.
can't.
It's not a law. It's not a law.
This is a medical law.
No, it's a dental office.
Okay, so I'm just relieved that Karen has teeth. That's a good sign. Why are they also attractive? Are they boycotting makeup or something? And do they forget that they have a back of their head and you actually have to do your hair in the back too? This has been a repeating thing since the woman with the hair and John McCain. He's a Muslim. I can't vote for him. They forget they have a back of their head, these Karens. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe they don't wear makeup because they're afraid to touch their face. I just don't know. They get half the warning about the COVID. But she doesn't want her temperature taken. It's illegal. It's against the law. I got news for you. It is not illegal. It is not against the law, okay? If you go into a private business and that private business says no shirt, no shoes, no service, and then they say no mask, no service, they're entitled to do that. Everybody wake the F up and stop listening to the lying sack of garbage that is in the White House right now. That is soiling the White House. That is, really just tainting the minds of people across this country and infecting them with racism and poor information on a global pandemic that seems to have settled here because of lack of cooperation by you. I mean, this is just so unfreaking believable. And then look at our governor. What a putz. Oh, my God. Our putsy governor, Ron DeSantis, he's mandating schools open. He doesn't even have the authority to do that. Schools are run by districts, district by district. Decisions are made by school boards. They are local. Anyway, he's like saying, well, if fast food could open, if Home Depot could open. I just played you a Karen in Home Depot. She's the reason why people are safe in Home Depot, because she gets turned away. Okay? She gets turned away. So I don't know, but he said yesterday fast food can be done. If Home Depot can be done, we need to do schools. Do it.
We spent months saying that there were certain things that were essential. And that included fast food restaurants. It included Walmart. It included Home Depot. If fast food and Walmart and Home Depot, and look, I do all that, so I'm not like looking down on it. But if all that is essential, then educating our kids is absolutely essential. And they have been put to the back of the line in some respects. Florida's done a better job with distance learning, I think, than any other state.
Okay, all right. Putz, child abuser. He put his baby in a Make America Great onesie, okay? A baby. All right, and he used it as a campaign prop. His baby. The kids are not being put to the back of the line, Governor. The kids are being put behind us to protect them, number one. Number two, how in the world is a McDonald's the same as a school? Are we going to do drive-through schools now? Is that what you have in mind? We're going to drive them on through? Didn't really work for Rayshard Brooks, the drive-through, but okay, you want to put the kids through a drive, or maybe in his mind, he thinks that we all go to Home Depot in groups of 40, in packs, like children go to school. I don't know, what do we all go to Home Depot 40 at a time, and then pack the electricity aisle, or pack the electrical aisle, and then we go, okay, time's up, we've spent 45 minutes in the electrical aisle, let's all of us go now to the painting aisle. Let's all of us go to the painting aisle, and we move in packs. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know how do you equate fast food drive-throughs or curbside pickup or do people spend 7 hours in a Home Depot? Do they eat lunch there? What's wrong with these people? What is wrong with them? They say these stupid things, and then the Karens repeat it. It's just so unfreaking believable to me. Now, I want you to know, Miami-Dade cannot open. Miami-Dade has to be shut down. It just does. So, Broward, you are right behind Miami-Dade. Broward is Fort Lauderdale. Miami-Dade is named Miami-Dade, so you know it's Miami. But Broward is Fort Lauderdale. I'm in West Palm. I'm in Palm Beach County, okay? The positivity rate in Miami is 33.5%. A third of Miami is testing positive. When you have a community awash in COVID, you cannot send your children safely to school. Do you understand, moron Governor Putzman? COVID DeSantis, do you understand? Forget 2020, it should be Ron DeSantis-19. He's a freaking moving pandemic. He is a moving hotspot. This is so unbelievable to me. They're having to reuse PPE. Oh, and that's not just me saying it either. Let me show you something. This is Pence actually saying it. CBS did a report last night. Okay, so they had Biden and Fauci weighing in, and then they showed you Mike Pence. Oh my God.
After months of doing nothing other than predicting the virus would disappear, or maybe if you drank bleach, you may be okay, Trump has simply given up. He's waved the white flag.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, the government's leading infectious disease expert, says states need to reassess their coronavirus response.
We need to get the states pausing in their opening process, looking at what did not work well, and try to mitigate that.
Governors in some of the hardest hit states have asked the White House for help with a shortage of doctors and nurses.
We've been processing requests to deploy over 1,070 doctors and nurses and medical personnel.
The vice president denied reports of protective equipment shortages in hospitals, but did add this note of caution.
We're encouraging healthcare workers to begin now to use some of the best practices that we learned in other parts of the country to preserve and to reuse the PPE supply.
Oh my God. Reuse your PPE. Reuse. You know, they couch it like in focus group tested buzzwords. And then they give you the bad news. Yeah, you're going to have to reuse your PPE. You're going to have to reuse it for 15 days. Treating COVID patients. We are 6 months into this. We are worst in the world. Worst in the world. And we don't have PPE.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
You know, our mortality rate is right now at a level that people don't talk about, but it's down tenfold. So you look at deaths are way down.
It's a false narrative to take comfort in a lower rate of death. There's so many other things that are very dangerous and bad about this virus. Don't get yourself into false complacency.
The testing has been going very smooth. If you go to the right agency, if you go to the right area, you get the test.
The idea of anybody getting it easily, the way people in other countries are doing it, we're not set up for that.
Yes.
It is a failing. I mean, let's admit it.
We have to open our schools. Young people are very little affected by this.
I think we better be careful if we are not cavalier in thinking that children are completely immune to the deleterious effects.
I mean, the man is debunked every single freaking day, and yet these people out there just repeat all the swill that he vomits into their faces. They just eat it up. Oh, well, you know, let them eat COVID. Let them eat it. It's so amazing to me how these people are ready to die for this man who went all the way to the Supreme Court to hide his taxes because he's a crook, he's a thief, he's a fraud. He inflates his assets for Forbes magazine and deflates his assets when it comes time to pay taxes. The man, according to the New York Times tax report that his niece provided the tax papers for, took them 13 months to put that New York Times report together on Donald Trump's family and how he said he inherited $1 million from his father. Turns out it was more like 30 million, but his dad left $1 billion, and that they hid that money from the IRS so that they didn't have to pay about $500 million in taxes. They're cheats. They're frauds. Donald Trump is a cheat. Mr. Trump is a cheat. That's what Michael Cohen said, and he's sitting in jail yet again. Last night he was on Hannity talking about he's going to pardon everybody. He's going to give clemency to freaking Roger Stone, who colluded, with the Russians and WikiLeaks on the document dumps to help Trump get elected in 2016. The guy was found guilty of 7 freaking felonies, for Christ's sake. And the president was there last night saying he's going to give clemency. He's going to pardon Manafort. He's going everybody but Cohen, who ended up back in jail. I don't know exactly why people are saying, he went to a restaurant and he violated the house arrest. And he said, no, I thought I could go to a restaurant. Somebody else said, he refused to meet the criteria for his release for his home confinement. And part of that was he couldn't write a book. I've never heard of not being able to write as a provision of parole or of home arrest. Have you ever heard of that? I never heard of that. But it's just so amazing what is going on with this idiot. And he was off of his rocker last night. He was so strange, even for him. Last night, this in the middle of all the, I'm telling you, we have 4,111 people dead in Florida. Miami's positivity rate is 33.5%. Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, you're right behind, 28% positivity. Arizona, you're right there, 28% positivity. People are waiting in line. It's going to be 117 degrees in Arizona over this weekend, and people are waiting in line. Some people are waiting 4, 8, 13 hours. This is America. And we used to make jokes about waiting in line for toilet paper in Russia. This is what we're doing here because he doesn't give a damn about you. He only gives a damn. Everything is, he's a victim. He's a victim. Oh, and Kayleigh McEnany, this lunatic fringe, this girl, oh my God, what a waste of these degrees. If I would have been born in a different zip code maybe I could have gone to Harvard. Maybe I could have gone to Dartmouth or one of the 7 sisters. But oh no. So I didn't get the opportunity, and they wasted it. This reminds me of every Jewish American princess I ever knew, where their parents put them through school and they went to, the top 10 or whatever you call, the Big 10 schools, and they had fun and they got their law degrees, and then they married a guy and never practiced law. It's so disgusting to me. It's so wrong. But McEnany went to Harvard, and she's standing on the stage yesterday, and they asked her, what about the hospitals? You can't say that we're testing so much and that's why we're getting cases, which is what she gave her press conference yesterday, and then he went on Hannity yesterday night to hammer it home with the Karens and the Kevins. And she actually stood on a stage yesterday. And if you change the channel in the middle of the press conference, okay, you're hearing her lie about, the reason why there's so many hospitalizations is because it's elective surgeries. Texas has canceled elective surgeries. Florida is not admitting for elective surgery. 43 ICUs here are above capacity. Okay, same thing in Texas. Arizona, you're damn close. Well, you're a crisis care. They're going to have to start triaging people to see how old you are and do you smoke and did you have COPD or are you a pacemaker patient? Do you have diabetes? How's your liver? And they're going to triage that way. And of course, age, the younger you are, the better you are. But hey, we're seeing under 44s now testing positive like 28% of the time. And they are getting sick, hospitalization sick. And they're being triaged, and they're all passing. They're all, like, okay, this guy will do okay. This guy will do okay. But I only have 3 beds, and there's 10 of them on this list. And so they don't even make it. So what's going to happen to people in their 50s and 60s and 70s and 80-year-olds who still have, probably, a good 10 years left? Oh, screw you. You don't get to see your grandson grow up. Something you waited for your whole freaking life. No, but I have to tell you, she sat on she sat at the podium yesterday, the woman who said, I will never lie to you, and said that the reason why the hospitalizations are up are because of elective surgeries.
Hospitalizations in the country are up 50% since mid-June. How can the president say that the country is in good shape right now?
So I would know with hospitalizations, in a lot of these hospitals, I spoke with Dr. Birx this morning, about 10 to 40% in the hospitals reaching high capacity are COVID. So a lot of hospitalizations aren't pertaining to COVID. What I would also note, and I'm glad...
Hospitalizations is not because of COVID?
Well, a lot of it is elective surgeries and other surgeries that have opened up. About 10 to 40% in the hospitals reaching capacity are COVID related.
When we talk about deaths, we are talking about COVID related deaths. When we talk about hospitalizations, we are talking about COVID, specifically hospitalizations. When we talk about tests, we are talking about COVID tests. And when we talk about positivity rates, we're talking about for COVID.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
This is our toddler president last night.
We have these massive 45 million people have been tested. It's a record, and our tests are the best. So we have cases all over the place. Most of those cases immediately get better. They get, people, they're young people, they have sniffles, and 2 days later they're fine, and they're not sick to they're asymptomatic. A lot of things happen, and what we're doing is with all of these tests that we're doing all over the country, everybody test, pull up parking lots, everything else. What we've done is we've created a tremendous number of cases. Everybody else, can you imagine if China tested like we test? They don't. Can you imagine if other big countries, the bigger countries, tested like we, or Germany? We've tested many, many, many times, even proportionately, the number of people that other countries have tested. But I was with, as an example, a great gentleman yesterday, the president of Mexico. And they're having a hard time, especially in Mexico City. They test when somebody's sick or when somebody goes into the hospital. And that's a different way of doing it, and it's just fine. And we are testing and creating. It's the greatest thing that ever happened for the opposite party, but we're doing something that nobody's ever done to the extent, and we're doing a great job.
He's a psycho. He's a lunatic. It's not true. None of that is true. China, as you know, had a little blip. They had a small outbreak in Wuhan after the first, wave of. They tested 10.5 million people in a week. 10.5 million people in a week. South Korea diagnosed on the same day we were diagnosed. They've had less than 300 deaths, okay? Because they did mass testing early. We waited and waited and waited. The World Health Organization offered us tests because we didn't have one that worked. And Donald Trump didn't want to take it because he didn't want numbers. He didn't want to know that there was COVID in this country. He wanted to lie about it. He wanted to obfuscate. He wanted to pretend. He wanted to use magical thinking instead of science and refuse those tests from the World Health Organization. And now, this week, he pulled us out of the World Health Organization. Pulls us out of the, because he doesn't like world, he doesn't like health, and he doesn't like organization. So we all have to die. This is crazy. This is absolute mass madness, you maniacs, you. This is just unbelievable. And he sat on Hannity and he started, fewer people are dying and they're young people and they have a sniffle and that's, and it's nothing. It's nothing.
We have a mortality rate. Think of this. That's tenfold better than any other. What we're doing is incredible. If you look, you've heard the numbers, tenfold. We have fewer people dying, and our people have done an incredible job.
We are number one in the world for deaths, okay? We have 5% of the world's population and 25% of the world's deaths from COVID. How does this little snot nose with the Sean Hannity, how does he sit there and have such a lack of respect for self-respect, for his own damn show, for his own damn self? You know me, I don't let anyone get away with anything as far as, BSing on this show. I correct, even if you're a friendly, I correct you if you get it wrong, because I have self-respect. And my name is on this thing, okay? How does Sean sit there and let this man, in the case of, like, mortal death, okay, in the case of disease, in the case of infestation, discord, unhappiness, despair, how does he let this man sit there and lie like that?
And one other thing, we're very well on the way to a vaccine.
Oh,
very
my
well
God.
on the way therapeutics, we're very well on the way. We've got a lot of great things happening. We already do. We do have some that are very effective, or at least effective. And a lot of very good things have happened. A lot of really good things. They're doing a great job. But the testing is just showing up all these cases. And if you turn the news on, you'll see it's always the word cases. They don't talk about death, because deaths are way down. They talk about cases all the time, cases. And those cases get better. And they, in most cases, literally in most cases, they automatically cure. They automatically get better.
Where would you like to look? Where would you like I said, if you watched that and then turned the channel while he was lying like this is what you would have seen.
Give us a sense of the situation in your hospitals this morning.
Well, I would say it's strained, to say the least. I mean, we have seen nearly a tenfold increase month over month in hospitalizations. And, the unfortunate part is now the hospitalization demographic is also getting younger. And getting more severe. We have a number of new cases, obviously, in ICU and on ventilators. And so this is a very strained situation where all the hospital systems and leadership now are going through their surge management because they're reaching the very limits of their capacity. That's
Texas, okay? That is San Antonio. Here is El Centro, California.
Oh, yeah, just generally weak. Your mom said she couldn't even get out of bed.
When folks say, hey, it's a war zone, well, a war zone of what? A war zone of us trying to combat the COVID-19.
The front line in this battlefield.
Just craziness still.
Anybody else sick at home?
Southern California's El Centro Regional Medical Center.
This is intense.
Did you get the rest of her vital signs?
CEO Adolph Edward is a former Air Force officer and Iraq War vet.
I have seen this tent actually deploy with me when we were in Balad, when we were in Iraq.
Now he's built them on American soil.
Just put pressure right there.
To handle a crush of COVID cases his hospital no longer has room for. Air-conditioned tents in the triple-digit desert heat to handle patient after patient.
The man is a liar, okay? And I don't know how you wake up in the morning with such lack of self-respect that you could slap your name on a TV show and let the president sit there, use your air to lie to people who are literally in MASH units, in freaking MASH units. Because the hospitals are overrun with younger, sicker, more severe cases of this virus. I don't know. I don't know how I don't know how people allow that. I don't know how, like I said, what a waste. What a waste. All right, Sean, I don't think has much of a education. I used to always say, Rush Limbaugh knows what he's doing. He knows. But Sean Hannity's dumb as a rock. Okay. But Laura Ingram's got a degree from Dartmouth. And Kaylee Ninnyhead, whatever her name is, she's got a Harvard degree. How do people, explain to their parents yes, you spent all this money and $52,000 a semester, and this is what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to lie people right into the grave. I'm going to lie about the world around them so much so that they die. How do you explain that to yourself? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I guess they look at their paychecks and they go, ha ha, I got mine, F you. But that does, I promise you, it doesn't make you happy. I've been up to the top of the mountain and I have seen the promised land. And I'm telling you, it doesn't make you happy. It doesn't fill whatever hole you, and if you've never been there, or if you've never had a paycheck that you went, oh my God, okay, you don't believe me. And I understand. I completely understand that you don't believe me, but I'm not there anymore because I didn't want to be. I was so miserable. It was such a horrible existence to have to apologize for things that don't need an apology because of corporate sponsors, or because this guy is putting money into the company and he's got this political attitude, or he's leaning into this candidate and so you can't be for that candidate, or the torture thing, right? You can't talk about it even though it was the most vile war crime I had ever seen in my lifetime, because the legal bills were, like through the roof, and the insurance rates were going up, and you can't do it. F you. What are we here for? If not to tell the truth? And those things didn't even bleed into your life. They were principles. I had character. I still do. But now, this is a virus. This is something that your children, your mother, your uncle, your aunt, yourself. And this racism, oh my God, we got to turn the light back on and put these cockroaches back in the wall. You know what peeves the Karens the most? You know what's really upsetting them? They don't understand the Constitution. They never did. Most people who are with Donald Trump don't. The government can't intrude on your right to call somebody the N-word in public, right? They can't do anything to you. But your private or publicly traded company can. And these lunatics are losing their jobs because free speech is not without consequence. That's not what it is. It just means the government can't intrude. Government can't take away your right to say whatever you want, but your employer can. You could not possibly work for me and do that in Home Depot.
Mary had a little lamb. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe it. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Long lines for testing in Miami, annual pass holder previews at Walt Disney World in Orlando, and the debate on whether to reopen Florida schools intensifying.
If you can do Home Depot, if you can do Walmart, if you can do these things, we absolutely can do the schools.
This, all while new coronavirus cases reached nearly 9,000 in the Sunshine State Thursday. The nation's top infectious disease doctor says Florida moved through the reopening process too quickly.
Certainly Florida, I think jumped over a couple of checkpoints.
It's one of 4 states accounting for about 50% of new infections. In another record-setting day of new cases in the country, hundreds in Phoenix waited in their cars for the chance to get a free coronavirus test as temperatures reached 110 degrees. 33% of people are testing positive in Arizona, and intensive care units are about 89% full, with around 180 beds available across the entire state.
We're kind of at the point where we are stretched so thin, we're at the point of compromising patient safety. Things have definitely taken a bad turn since our state reopened here.
Hospitals in Texas are also in crisis mode, and elective surgeries are on hold in much of the state. California's governor announced a record high of coronavirus-related deaths.
The mortality rates are still front and center and should be in your consciousness for those that just think that now people are getting it, no one's dying. That is very misleading. In fact, it's fundamentally untrue.
Around 100,000 people are tested for the disease in California daily, and Los Angeles County recorded nearly 1,800 new cases on Thursday alone. More than 50% of people testing positive there are between the ages of 18 and 40.
I would hope we don't have to resort to shutdown. I think that would be something that is obviously an extreme. So rather than think in terms of reverting back down to a complete shutdown, I would think we need to get the states pausing in their opening process.
And with testing efforts ramping up nationwide, there's serious concern for keeping up with PPE and supplies for health workers and a delay in results from labs.
We are literally the worst in the world on a response to COVID-19. Literally the worst in the world. And the president was on the TV last night lying. Deaths are down tenfold. Everybody's telling you, no, they're up, and it's affecting younger and younger people, and they're more severely sick than ever before. And don't believe, that this decrease in death is really happening, because it really isn't. I will tell you, Florida hides its numbers, so I can't even tell you how many people died as a result of COVID. And I will tell you, in Arizona and in California and in Texas, we don't know how many people died at home from COVID. We only know how many people died in the hospital from COVID. We haven't even counted our dead that didn't make it to the hospital or who was sent home from the hospital and were told to quarantine or and then just died. We don't even have that number. And the president sat there and lied and lied and lied and bitched and moaned and complained about this is all to make him look bad and the Black Lives Matter thing. New York is a hellhole, he says. It's a hellhole, and it's a witch hunt, this tax thing. Just like everything is a witch hunt. Everybody's out to get him. He complains about how much this pandemic is hurting him. When did America decide to elect themselves a Jewish grandma? Let's run a Loretta for president. Loretta 2020. My mother, everything is about her. Every single thing that happens in this world is about her. So Loretta 2020, everybody. Loretta 2020. When did we decide that we were going to take a bubby and have the bubby be president of the United States? And you know what? He's old enough to have that old person smell. Jesus. And talking about old people. So last night he was trashing Joe Biden, because Joe Biden, Joe Biden is not the greatest orator. He never has been. It's Joe Biden's character that we crave. It's Joe Biden's decision making. It's Joe Biden's acknowledgement of bad decisions and saying he made a mistake and he'll fix it, he'll correct it. He understands where it didn't work and what went wrong and what was good and what was bad. This man, it's just about him, and everything he does is fabulous, and everything Biden does is a disgrace. And that Biden is mentally challenged, not him. That he doesn't have malignant narcissism combined with some borderline personality disorder and an addiction to Adderall. He actually sat on the TV and bragged last night that, Biden's got to take a cognitive test. I took a cognitive test. And they couldn't believe how well I did on this. They couldn't believe it. The doctor said, I've never seen anything better. Never seen anything like that.
He hasn't taken any cognitive tests because he couldn't pass one.
Oh, my God.
I actually took one when I, very recently, when I was, the radical left was saying, is he all there? Is he all there? And I proved I was all there because I aced it. I aced the test. And he should take the same exact test, a very standard test. I took it at Walter Reed Medical Center in front of doctors, and they were very surprised. They said, that's an unbelievable thing. Rarely does anybody do what you just did. But he should take that same test.
The test that he took or says he took at Walter Reed, I don't know when. Was it in 2018? Or was it in November when in the middle of the day on a Saturday, him and his doctor got in the limo and they went to Walter Reed? I think that's the only time he's been to Walter. I don't know. Sarah Cooper, she just put out a video.
Because he hasn't taken any cognitive tests because he couldn't pass one. I actually took one when I very recently when I was, the radical left was saying, "Is he all there? Is he all there?" And I proved I was all there because I aced it. I aced the test, and he should take the same exact test, a very standard test. I took it at Walter Reed Medical Center in front of doctors, and they were very surprised. They said, "That's an unbelievable thing. Rarely does anybody do what you just did." But he should take that same test. But
Sarah Cooper, everybody. Sarah Cooper. I mean, she doesn't miss it. If she's like me, she's totally addicted to this man's mental illness because it's so pronounced and it's so in your face that you can't ignore how insane and crazy he is. Now, the cognitive test that he took is a very basic test that they initially give people to see if they have dementia. And basically, it's name the animals, okay? And there's a picture of a rhinoceros. There's a picture of a cow. There might be a camel, cute little skunk, something like this there. And then they have numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all around the page with A, B, C, D, E. And you have to connect the number 1 to A and the number 2 to B. And this is and I aced it. Like, what does he say? Joe Shapiro had died. By the way, Joe Shapiro, the guy who took his SATs, is dead. Everybody was looking for him. He died in 1999. He died early. He was a brilliant man. But Joe Shapiro didn't take his cognitive test for Donald Trump. That's kind of what he's bragging about. But it's just so weird. I mean, this is what he's choosing to discuss. When we broke a record yesterday, 63,000 new diagnoses, 63,000 people tested positive for COVID just yesterday, okay? Hospitals are, here in Florida, 41 counties are at 100% capacity. I mean, it's just so unbelievable to me. And he's talking about Joe Biden. Joe Biden needs to take a cognitive test because I aced mine. Now, Joe Biden was asked the other day if he's ever taken a cognitive test, and he said yes. So even that's a lie. And he said he can't wait to debate Donald Trump. See, who's cognitively there.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
This morning, the CDC now says that it will not revise its guidelines for safely reopening schools.
Our guidelines are our guidelines, but we are going to provide additional reference documents. It's not a revision of the guidelines.
You are not alone if that is confusing, since just yesterday, the vice president announced
next week, CDC is going to be issuing a new set of tools.
After the president trashed the original guidance on Twitter as being
very tough, expensive, and impractical.
And what's been clear is that the CDC, that for 70 plus years has been the gold standard of public health, has been caught up in the politics of Washington. And it's going to be a challenge for them as this virus surges seemingly out of control in the United States, how they are going to walk this very political line between the White House and public health.
Why is there a line between science and the White House, public health and the president? Why does Fauci have to couch his words so carefully? And the president gets on the TV and says, he's a nice guy, but, he's always wrong. He has been right on everything. And one of the things he said last week is, he's got to tell you that we're going to get to 100,000 cases. And he doesn't want to tell you, but that's just the way it is because this president is doing the world's worst job.
I would not be surprised if we go up to 100,000 a day if this does not turn around. But I think it's important to tell you and the American public that I'm very concerned because it could get very bad.
could get very bad. That's all he's allowed to say. It could get very bad. You want to hear Donald Trump a couple of months ago, like when this thing first started? Now, remember, if you're in Arizona, if you're in Florida, there's no tests again. Remember, there's no. And then when I got tested, and, here's the thing. The test is only reassuring the day you take it. Because as you're walking out of the testing area, you could get a White Lives Matter person just coughing on you. It's Florida. You could be in a Home Depot with a Karen who refuses to wear a mask and, wants to crowd you in the plumbing aisle. You could. And so the test is only as good as the minute that you took it, even though you don't get the result for like 7 days, which makes it impossible for anybody to do anything except isolate themselves while they wait a week for the result, which hardly anybody can afford to do because Mitch McConnell won't get the money out the door. And rent is due, and the unemployment checks are running out. I swear to God, I think he saw the polls. This is what I'm thinking. And I've said this a million times. He is the kind of guy where, if I can't have her, nobody else can, right? And he kills her. Because if I can't have her, nobody else can. I swear he's doing that to this country. Because he sees the polls. He knows he's going to lose in a tsunami. He knows it's going to be fugly. Not ugly, but fugly. Okay? Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Florida probably, Arizona. I mean, fugly. And it seems to me that if he can't have America for his own damn self, then no one else can. And he is just burning it down to the ground. He's unleashed the virus of racism, obviously COVID. He refused, and he still refuses to do anything meaningful. The Defense Production Act, he's not invoked it. We don't have PPE. Mike Pence is out there telling people who work in hospitals, use it. You have to follow the suggested guidelines. These focus group words, best practices, and use your PPE over and over again. Use it 15 times. Treating COVID, it's so sick. It's just so twisted. Okay, I can't explain it to you other than I think he's lit the match and he's burning us down to the ground because he knows he's going to lose, and that is sick and sad. You would think it's actionable, but not while he's president, because the president cannot be indicted. There better be some justice left in this world for rich people, because there's very little justice for rich people. I mean, very, very little. There's because they could buy their way out of everything. And the rest of us can't buy our way out of anything. And so, the Karens are just freaked out that there is actually a pushback by their employers, by their publicly traded companies who don't want to be associated with lunatic, fringy people and fire them. This is shocking to them. But, there better be some justice for rich white people in this country, because, frankly, this man has got to stand trial. He has got to answer for this alone. Never mind all the other stuff that he did, the tax fraud and the paying off of Stormy Daniels under the table and the serving up of Michael Cohen on a play. Oh, I hardly knew him. He did some legal work for me. I mean, come on. He knows no one. Lev Parnas, he doesn't know him. He doesn't know Ghislaine Maxwell. Eric Trump was tweeting the other night, a picture of Bill Clinton with Ghislaine Maxwell, or the Clintons at the Trump's wedding or something like this. And Ghislaine Maxwell's in one picture or something. And I just started tweeting every photo, and there are tens, if not hundreds, of photos of Donald Trump with Ghislaine, Donald Trump with the very dead Epstein. I mean, there's a million pictures, like he brought him home to Mar-a-Lago for a party. They're all there. Or this is Donald Trump at, Epstein's house. Or this is Donald Trump at a party with Epstein at Mar-a-Lago. Here's Ghislaine, and the president and Prince Andrew. This woman... Epstein had to show up dead, right? It's too many powerful people. That's what I'm saying. White people justice is funky. It's very funky. You can get yourself out of just about anything, except if you screw over somebody more powerful than you, more connected than you, then, right? So Epstein turns up dead in Bill Barr's prison system. Okay. What's going to happen to Ghislaine? Well, she can't hang herself because, been there, done that. That would be... But I got a funny feeling she's going to end up with a wicked case of COVID. A wicked case of COVID. Like the whole country can't breathe, and Ghislaine is going to be one of us all of a sudden. I'm just saying, I honest to God, in my whole life, I never, ever, ever saw this. I never saw a president who really is indifferent to the carnage, the actual death of and the sickness and the writhing and agony and the overloaded ICUs and the people dying at home. And all he talks about is Bill de Blasio put Black Lives Matter on the sidewalk in New York. And you know what? New York's a hellhole. All it does is prosecute you. Because that's where you lived and cheated the most. Until now. I don't know. So here's some good news. Want some good news? So he was going to do a rally this weekend. I swear to God, he was going to do a rally outdoors in New Hampshire because they have very low COVID cases. I don't think anybody wanted to show up, and it got canceled for weather.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Someday soon, the time of Trump will pass. This circus of incompetence, corruption, and cruelty will end. When it does, the men and women in Trump's Republican Party will come to you, telling you they can repair the damage he's done. They'll beg you to forget their votes to exonerate Trump from his crimes, ask you to forgive their silence, their cowardice, and their betrayals as Trump wrecked this nation. Every time they had a choice between America and Trump, they chose Trump. Every time they were called to the service of this nation and their sacred oath, they chose Trump. Every time. Learn their names. Remember their actions. And never, ever trust them again.
Oh! Beautiful! God, I love that. That is just wow. Oh, Vote Vets has one today too. This is pretty good. Watch this.
As the sun rose over Afghanistan this morning, 8,600 American troops started their day knowing Russia has bounties on their heads, paying Taliban militants to murder our troops, and the heartbreaking truth that their commander-in-chief deserted them, that he ignored the intelligence report dropped on his desk in February, too lazy to read it himself. And now, since the report was read out loud to him in June, days have passed, weeks have gone by, still no action. Not a call to his Russian master to stand down. Not a call to console the families left behind.
Wow.
When the sun sets over our troops in Afghanistan tonight, how many more bounties will Russia have paid out? Our troops deserve a whole lot better than a traitor like Trump.
Ooh. 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 Vote Vets, everybody. Vote Vets. Woo! I love it. So most gave some gave all. One had bone spurs. There you have it. And there was testimony yesterday, in case you missed it. Yeah. You have to change the channel, Fox viewers. You have to change the freaking channel every once in a blue moon. But there was testimony yesterday, and I at the House Armed Services Committee, and Secretary of Defense Esper and Joint Chiefs General Milley were asked about these bounties, and I swear to God, the wordplay. Well, I didn't see the exact word bounty. No, it was money. Okay, it was money that was in the intelligence. Well, I didn't see the exact word. They played so many games. It was so sad. It was so unforgivable. Here's Esper.
Have you received a intel briefing that included the word bounty with respect to Russians and the killing of American men and women in uniform?
Congressman, to the best of my recollection, I have not received a briefing that included the word bounty.
Mr. Secretary, I really appreciate you saying that. Now, the next question then is, and if you had, wouldn't that have risen to the level of importance enough for you to bring it to the President's attention?
Okay, the real question after that is, what word did you see that let you know that Russia was paying Taliban fighters to bring in dead Americans? But that's not his next question. And if you did see the word bounty, wink, wink, wouldn't you have brought it to the attention of the President? I mean...
That would be an action item, wouldn't it? I mean, that would be so outrageous that you would bring that up the chain of command.
If it was a credible report, that's important, a credible, corroborated report that used those words, certainly it would have been brought to my attention by the chain of command, by the chairman of the Joint Chiefs and others for action. It would have been, and we would have taken upon that action in an interagency effort to make sure that we addressed it. But look, at all times, we take force protection very seriously and take all those actions, regardless of the credibility of a report. We take all that seriously.
Yeah, go back to Raytheon. Okay, go back. Here's General Milley. He was asked specifically about this, and he's like, we'll get to the bottom of it.
Specifically to the bounties.
Yeah.
That is a unique, discrete piece of information that is not corroborated. You've all been briefed on it. I have too, and I and the Secretary and many others are taking it serious. We're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to find out if, in fact, it's true, and if it is true, we will take action.
Okay, this is a months-old story. It's just that we're getting to know it now. But this is something that the White House was briefed on a year ago. And he has talked to Vladimir Putin 6 times since and never brought it up to anybody's knowledge. But I just want to show you how everybody around Donald Trump at this point is a piece of... Because here is Esper and Milley being asked, who gave the order to gas the protesters in Lafayette Square? Who gave the order? And remember, this is the Secretary of Defense and the Joint Chiefs, who was there on the ground in his combat uniform when Lafayette Square was cleared out by force to make way for a photo op that the president desired to do in front of a church.
Who specifically gave the order to clear the protesters out of Lafayette Square ahead of the president's visit to the church on June 1st? You said the Guard was in support. Who gave the order, and to whom, I guess, to clear the protesters out of that square?
We've had that discussion a few times. We had it the other day with Secretary McCarthy and Major General Walker, and it's still unclear to me who gave the direction to clear the park at that moment in time.
How could it be unclear?
See, I find that hard to believe.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but it's like a pretty big decision. A lot of people there, everyone's there, and it just sort of happened.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I don't know. I have never inquired. I've never pursued it with anybody because you get caught up on other things more relevant to...
Well, how did you know to have the Guard hold back? Because I think there's a lot of testimony that says the Guard did not participate in the clearing of the square. Why did they not participate?
I think, Congressman, that's we could actually get something from General Walker. I want to say, I don't want to quote him. I don't want to get it wrong, but I want to say that he was on the ground with the park police. And what they had asked him to do was to stay static, not move, and that was what he was operating from. I don't know in that moment when he decided to move forward, but he was on the ground. I know he told me that yesterday or the day before and was clear on that piece. But beyond that, maybe we get something from him to share with you.
Chairman Milley, do you have anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know with certainty, but I'm pretty sure that there was a planning session down at the FBI building in late morning, around noonish or early afternoon, where they divided up who was going to do what to whom. Major General Walker's there, Secretary McCarthy's there, and there's some others there. And I think that's what the agreement was as to where they would be. As to who gave the order, I don't know.
I don't know. I was just there in my combat uniform. I don't know. I'm the Secretary of Defense. I don't know who gave the order. I don't know. Maybe this is why we don't win wars anymore. I don't know. It was Bill Barr. Okay, it was Bill Barr. The Attorney General is ordering the military and the Park Police, and he's taken over the National Guard. Okay, I don't want to play the game anymore. I don't want to. This is unacceptable.
Fatality. This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Donald Trump loves to talk and talk and talk. But after 3.5 years of big promises, what did the American people have to show for all the talk? He promised a health care plan, but never even offered his own bill.
Really?
As he continues to try to wipe out Obamacare in the middle of a pandemic. Instead, he's fought repeatedly to take health care away from tens of millions of people who didn't have it before, and over 100 million people who are covered because they had pre-existing conditions now that they couldn't have gotten coverage for before. He promised an infrastructure plan to deliver on jobs and opportunities. We're rated as having the 23rd, ranked 23rd in the world in terms of our transportation infrastructure. What happened to all of that? He promised to bring back jobs, but manufacturing was in recession even before COVID-19.
There was.
He promised to buy Americans. But then he let federal contractors double the rate of offshoring jobs in his first 18 months. I'm going to change that. We're going to double the tax on foreign profits, so we don't encourage people to leave and build abroad. And when it comes to COVID-19, after months of doing nothing other than predicting the virus would disappear, or maybe if you drank bleach, you may be okay, Trump has simply given up. He's waved the white flag. He's walked away. And his failures come with a terrible human cost.
So that was Joe Biden sharing the stage with birds. You know, the man can't get a break when he speaks publicly. He just, he can't get a break. Yes, there were birds. But remember the Bernie bird? Remember that? That was a nice moment. I don't know why it didn't play out the same. Remember the Bernie bird? Remember? Just vote. Just as soon as you're allowed. Just as soon as they say, okay, it's on, let's just storm the Bastille. You know what I'm saying? I just say, but it is ridiculous. See, the point that he was making, it's a ridiculous thing. Here is the president of the United States in the middle of a pandemic, an American pandemic anymore, okay? This is really centered here. We have epicenters all over the country, the entire Sun Belt, the western portion of our nation. It's just like so unbelievable. And what is he doing? He's in court defending himself from producing his taxes, going all the way to the Supremes because there's something so bad in there that he's got to fight tooth and nail to hide it. And he's in court trying to take away Obamacare, which is how I get my health insurance. And never put his own health care plan forward, never put his infrastructure plan forward, never did anything on offshoring, jobs, never opened up, manufacturing. We had a manufacturing recession. I told you it was a technical recession, meaning 2 quarters of negative growth before COVID in manufacturing. Now the country is writhing in agony. Unemployment checks are about to run out. The rent, moratorium is about to run out. People are going to be evicted. I swear he's burning it down. I swear he is. I swear he is one of those. If I can't have her, nobody else can. And it's frightening. It's absolutely frightening. Steve in Ohio.
Hey, Randy.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you remind me of this fella? His name was Jones, and he took like 1,000 people down to the Honduras.
Oh, Guyana. No, Guyana. Jim Jones.
Jim Jones.
Mm-hmm. You know do you know Congresswoman Jackie Spear? You know her?
Yes.
Okay, so she was a legislative assistant to the congressman that went down there to see what the hay was going on, and she was shot. She took 5 bullets down there.
Wow.
Yeah. People forget about what Jackie Spear went through with Jim Jones and Guyana and the drinking of the Kool-Aid. They forget. And her Congress member, he died. They killed him.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Jim Jones took like 1,000 people down to the Honduras.
No, Guyana. 3,000 people. Guyana, not Honduras.
3,000 people in Guyana. That's even worse.
Yeah.
So these people took what? What did they poison?
Kool-Aid. They drank Kool-Aid with I think it had arsenic in it.
Well, so isn't the Republican Congress doing the same thing? That
yes.
They're drinking the same.
I don't know that they're drinking it and they're killing themselves. I think they're cashing out right now, and you need to remember that. You need to know their names. Kentucky needs to remember. Iowa needs to remember. Colorado needs to remember Cory Gardner's name. North Carolina's got to remember Tom Tillis's name. Listen, everybody gets to vote for these people, okay? And they have got to go. These are the enablers. These are the people that are enabling the Jim Jones, okay? And the Democrats like Jackie Spear, they're the ones that risked their lives to go down there and to see what was going on. And they got shot. One was killed, and she got 5 bullets. Wow. She was left for dead.
And I tell you one other thing. I think Trump is personally responsible for 100,000+ deaths, American citizens' deaths.
Okay, so here's what we'll say. Okay, he didn't start the pandemic. We understand that.
Well,
without Donald Trump, we would still have to deal with the virus. But without Donald Trump, we would have and could have dealt with the virus. So let's be real clear about that. All right, Chuck in California.
Yeah, Randy, I wanted to talk about something that I haven't heard anybody say anything about. Next week, taxes are due, and how many millions of people, 1, can't get somebody to do their taxes, 2, can't afford to pay their taxes, 3, need their tax money that would be going to the richest people. It's just another transfer of wealth. How many millions will not be able to pay their taxes, and what's going to be done about that?
So here's the thing, I know people are saying that they don't want to pay their taxes because of him. A lot of people can't pay their taxes. I just got my bill, and it's astronomical. I'm like, wow. But if you don't pay your taxes, then you are taking on the likelihood and the chance that your wages would be garnished, that your house could have a lien put on it, that your car could be repoed. So be careful. Be very careful about what you decide to do if you're adamant about, I don't want to pay my taxes because we don't have a government that cares about us. I get the principle, but it's still, they have the upper hand. This is just like what I'm saying. When people decide to screw somebody who is in the catbird seat or above them financially, or have the awesome power of the government, or behind them, and you're going it alone, you're going to get crushed. That's why I think like Ghislaine Maxwell's going to end up with a wicked case of COVID in a prison cell somewhere, because she could point a finger at like Prince Andrew. Do you know what I'm saying? You can't. That's why. Everybody, this is a great teachable moment. Thank you, Oprah. This is why people who are uber rich want more, because there's always somebody, until you have it all, there's somebody that's got just enough to take you down. And that's why they want more and more and more. It has absolutely nothing to do with not having enough. And if you find yourself having enough and still craving, wanting, needing more, So I'm telling you, it doesn't make you happy. It's an endless hamster wheel. It's really, really exhausting. And the quality of your life just disappears. But if you decide you don't want to pay your taxes, I mean, if you can't pay your taxes, obviously the IRS can be, worked with as long as you show a willingness, But if you say, I'm not doing it because we don't have a government, I get your principles. I applaud that. But just know they can crush you. Just know there are penalties. There are consequences. And the longer you don't pay, or the longer you avoid, or the longer you say, I can't, without entering into some sort of an arrangement, the steeper the penalties, the more you have to lose. So be very, very careful around that. I just got my tax bill. It blew my mind. Blew my mind. I didn't, I'm not rich. Seriously. I was better when I didn't pay myself. Much better. But the days of getting a refund are over. Over. Now you pay and you pay and you pay and you pay. So. All right, listen, have a good weekend. Thank you, New Hampshire, for not showing up for the president. I choose to believe that.